Thanks to the support as a channel member, Richard Myers. Well, boys and girls, this is going to be the most important summer we have in the entire series. The transfer embargo ends here, and we have to put together a team capable of not only surviving in the championship, but at some point getting ready to push on and return to the Premier League. Main goal, surviving the championship, because I think that's going to be pretty tough. Hello and welcome to part 19 of Saving Man City. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our summer season review thing and transfer special. We're in the championship. That's all that matters. We didn't win a trophy this year. It's the first season of the save. We've not won a trophy. We did, however, of course, win promotion to the championship. And for the first time, we have some signings to review on our new arrivals page. Just the three. For some reason, the loan signings don't appear on here, even though loans out show on there, transfers out, but loans in apparently don't show. So just the three permanent signings from the summer. Signing of the season, without question, Shane Flynn. Still only 23. In my head, he was older than that, but played pretty much every game, whether it was from the start or coming on as a substitute. 7 goals. He was our penalty taker for a lot of the year, an average of 7.03. DiMaggio, Wright Phillips, Finley Thorndike, less impressive. Hopefully we're going to do a little bit better with transfers this summer than we did last summer. But of course, remember last summer we were under a transfer embargo, so massively limited on what we could bring in. I don't quite know when the transfer embargo lifts, so I'm not sure when. Hopefully before the 1st of July. We shall see. But the board were looking for us to finish in the top half of League One. We, of course, finished second, once again, pretty much maxing out capacity at Gig Lane. I don't know if Gig Lane is going to be suitable for the championship. We might find that we need to buy it and expand it, or move to a different ground, or build a ground of our own. I have no idea. The City of Manchester Stadium, the stadium formerly known as the Etihad, does exist in the database. So there is the possibility, I think, of us moving back there. But it's completely out of my control if and when that will happen. And of course, rent on that would be much more than it was at Gig Lane. It would be able to fit more fans in. So that would be quite pleasant. That was our biggest win of the year, a nice 5-0 over Tranmere. And of course, finances largely are a disaster. We still, of course, get a huge amount of sponsorship each year. That's actually just come in. So when you see our bank balance in a second, we're actually going to be in the positive on the bank balance again for the start of the summer. Broadcast revenue, I think that was our last year of getting any kind of parachute money. So that's going to drop this coming year. Sponsorships, just like the initial debts, have another 2 years to run. So in 2 years' time, the sponsorships will be renegotiated, but a lot of the monthly debt payments will be gone. So it'll be interesting to see whether we maintain such a high level of sponsorship. We could conceivably be back in the Premier League by then. So if that's the case, that's not necessarily unreasonable at that point. We're still only showing as a 2.5-star reputation club, though, so that doesn't necessarily indicate an immediate return to the Premier League. This was our team of the year. Trafford in goal, a back four: Flynn, Charles, Mbete and Sweet. Wells Morrison at the base of the midfield. Fiorini and Taylor ahead of him. Hamilton on the left, Dixon on the right, Coburn up front. But of course, the thing to bear in mind with this is we will be without Sweet, Wells Morrison, Taylor and Coburn as a minimum, and we probably need to sell some players as well. Although this could potentially be the first summer where we don't really need to sell, because unless we get really pressing financial issues. I'm of a mind to, even the likes of Fiorini and Hamilton, who are likely to be the next ones that we sell, I'm inclined to keep them until January, because half a season in the championship is going to push their prices up, I think. Fiorini won Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year. Signing of the season, as we know, was Flynn. Micah Hamilton with Goal of the Season. Josh Coburn, top scorer with 22 goals. Will Dixon, most assists on 13. And Micah Hamilton, most man of the matches, with Coburn getting the highest average rating at 7.2. And Jack Wells Morrison is Naughty Boy of the Year. James Trafford won the Sky Bet League 2 Golden Glove. I mean, we're in League 1, so that's from the previous year. Lovely to see how that carries over. So, as mentioned, finances looking pretty solid. We have just had our £80 million of sponsorship money come in. We also got some investment from the new chairman as well. So we've had a new chairman take over, as part of the elections, and he's basically cleared the debts as part of doing that as well. So we had about, we had 56 million. In fact, over the last 2 months, cool, that's a lot of investment, isn't it? 72 million plus 56 million. We've had 168 million pounds of investment in the last year. You can take the Manchester City out of the Premier League. Goodness me. And 80 million pounds in sponsorships means that the club is actually looking a lot healthier than it was previously. Debt now down to 788 million. So about half of the debt is now gone. It's still not a pretty situation with 23 million pounds a month going out for the next 2 years to service that debt. But the financial projections, not as disastrous as they have been, although still pretty disastrous. Pretty disastrous. So transfer embargo lifts imminently. I think it is still in place now. There's your confirmation there. So really, we're just waiting for the embargo to lift. We might renew a couple of contracts. Our wage budget, we've got a little bit of spare wage budget that we could maybe renew some contracts with. We're not going to touch this at all, but we will, if necessary, go up to the top of our wage budget, but we're not going to go beyond it. We're not going to move money from transfer budget into wage budget. So that is going to have a restriction on the transfers that we can do and the contracts that we can renew. The one contract we have already renewed, Luis Fiorini, he's been arguably our most important, most consistent player over the 3 seasons so far. He's consistently made the step up each time the step up has needed to be made, and hopefully will step straight in to be a championship player for us as well. So Fiorini, I would like him to stick around. I would like him to be a forever player for us. So he gets a new contract. At the moment, nobody else has. And we do have a number of players who are out of contract at the end of this coming season. And the most notable, the worrisome one, really, Micah Hamilton, one of our better players, is out of contract in a year and doesn't want to sign a new one because I offered him out. He's refusing to discuss a new contract until I've kept my promise not to sell him. But my promise not to sell him expires it expires in February. So we've got to get through this transfer window and the January transfer window where he'll be able to sign pre-contracts with anybody before we can even offer him a contract. So there is an argument to sell Hamilton this summer, break that promise, sell him this summer, because then at least we get some money for him. If we let this play out, we can't discuss a contract with him until after he could go and sign for a club in Scotland. He's waiting on the fulfillment of the promise before considering his future. And that is a big risk for a player that we could get £5 million for now. So there's the Micah Hamilton decision to make and then transfers to be done because there's not much in the development centre. All these boys are going to be leaving. It'll be fine. I could do with the embargo lifting now, please. Thanks. Well, this is worth noting. FFP works different in the Championship to how it works in League One and League Two. League One and League Two, it is literally just about what percentage of your income you use on player salaries, and we were always absolutely fine. We got nowhere near it. But you get to the Championship and it switches and it becomes about profit and loss. We're not allowed to make more than a £15 million loss over a 48-month period. Obviously, we've made a much bigger loss than that. We're projected to make a loss of £77 million over that period. If we fail FFP, which we almost certainly will, we get a transfer embargo. So we could potentially get a transfer embargo. It confirms down here, actually, that we're under embargo until the 1st of July. So we come out of our current transfer embargo on the 1st of July. We should be okay to do transfers this summer. But then when we fail FFP this coming season, we're not going to be able to do transfers next season. So the season after. So this is our one and only chance to do some transfers. Does that change how we do them? It probably should. Do we spend some money now? Or is that bonkers? That was unanticipated. Well, it looks like the first big sale of the summer is being decided for us. Aston Villa have come in and made a £5 million offer for Galvez. We're going to try and push this up as far as we possibly can. But yeah, it's going to be tricky. I don't think we're going to get to 10 million. No, he's going to get a grumpy on 9 million. 8.25. So let's go back to Villa. 8.25. Right, they withdraw, but I suspect he's probably going to be on his way. There are a lot of teams that are interested in him. I think Galvez is probably on his way out of the club. And there is your confirmation, £7.75 million up front, rising to a potential $10.5 million, 30 game, 30% sell-on percentage as well. So, I mean, it's a good deal all round. He gets to go and sit on Villa's bench next season. We get to cash in on a player who only actually started 3 league games for us last year, and we've got an 8-figure fee for him. So, I mean, it makes sense all round. It does mean that we now kind of have to keep Wilson Esbrand, who would have been the other one we potentially could have got decent money for, although we have promised not to sell him, and Galvez wanted to go. So Wilson Esbrand potentially can become another one of those that we build the future of this team around. We're starting to get a couple of long-serving players now, the likes of Trafford, Wilson Esbrand, Charles Fiorini. These are the boys who've stuck with us all the way through and need rewarding for it. So I think that's probably fair. Shea Charles is the latest one to have his contract renewed. He's on an extended contract as well now. So we've got a couple of these boys that we're definitely sticking with. 10 days until the transfer embargo is lifted and we can add to this very small looking squad. Right, I'm considering this one a calculated risk. We had money in the bank, although, you know, it's all allocated, but there was money sat there. So I asked the board if we could improve our youth facilities. They have agreed. So £1.6 million is going towards improved youth facilities. And I think that's probably needed. The quality of youth players we had come through in recent years hasn't been great. You can see that most of the under-18 squad with high potential are the players who were there at the beginning of the game. There's not very many of the newer players coming through. They're all like 3.5 stars of potential, which isn't really going to get the job done. So that is important. I think that's £1.6 million well spent, and we might be funding it by selling Kyle Samuel. I don't really want to sell him. He's a player similar to Galvez that we've not really used. He's only started 6 games for us last year, still very much trying to break through, but we just had an offer from Hull. He wants to go. Similar to what we did with Galvez, we've agreed a price with him at 3.1 million. Hull haven't met it yet, but we're not going to stand in the way of any player who wants to leave. As far as I'm concerned, we need to be selling players anyway. If there's players who identify themselves as wanting to leave, that makes my decisions a lot easier, and I'll just let them go for their agreed prices, and we'll work around it. And it means we don't have to force the likes of Hamilton out the club, which has caused that problem we were looking at before. So we might be losing Samuel as well. I think, to be honest, those two going, if we get close to 15 million for the two of those combined, I think that's probably fine for this summer. I don't think we need to push too hard to sell lots of players this summer. That's going to be more of a job for January when we know where we stand in this league. Here we go then, boys and girls. 1st of July 2025, 3 years into the save, and the transfer embargo has been lifted. Let's see what we've actually got left in our squad. Let's just reject that offer as well. We're not letting anyone out on loan right now until I've had a proper look at the squad. We did release a player on contract expiry day thing as well. Robertson, where is he? Alex Robertson has left the club. Played quite a lot in the League 2 season, but didn't really get a look in last year. Only had 2.5 star potential, so he has moved on. And once again, I'm reminded of the Micah Hamilton problem that we've got, and I've got to make a decision on him this summer. He's one of our key players. He's got decent value. We've promised not to sell him, so I'm not going to offer him out. But I think if we get an offer anywhere near to £5 million for him, we probably have to let him go just to avoid the possibility of him leaving for free in January. We looked at it before. I don't think there's any other way around that. The rest of these we'll worry about a little bit further down the line, but this is the squad that we have. Let's have a look at the squad planner actually and see where we stand. So James Trafford should still be a championship quality goalkeeper. There you go. Decent championship goalkeeper. That's fine. Murray Jones, decent backup. Don't think we need to do too much there. Although Murray Jones does want to go out on loan. We've had a few offers for him. He's got 5 stars of potential. So there is a scenario where we let him go out on loan to play in League One and bring a cheap backup to sit behind Trafford on the bench. Wilson Esbrand definitely starting left back. I think he is more than good enough for this level, and what a difference a promotion makes to those values. Wow, that is very nice to see. And then at right back, we don't really have anybody. Obviously, we had Street in on loan last year. And we've got the youngster, Mamadou Sissoko, who we've just moved up from the under-18 squad. He was out on loan at Carlisle last year. But he's really a central midfielder, defensive midfielder, not really a right back. He has got 5 stars of potential, though, so definitely one to keep an eye on. But we do need to sign an actual right back this summer. That is a high priority. At centre-back, we've always traditionally had a lot of decent cover. And Mbete, Katongo, Charles, those 3, all very much good enough. Shane Flynn, decent backup at left back and centre back, means I'm not too worried about centre back cover, and I'm not going to be too upset if Kyle Samuel does leave. We've also got Simpson Pusey knocking around the place as well, who's another one with a lot of potential. So we've got a decent amount. We could probably let a centre back go if we absolutely had to. We don't really have a defensive midfielder. Obviously, we had what's his face, the double-barreled name, who I can't remember, in on loan last year. So if we're going to carry on with this system, we're going to need to sign somebody. We might not, though. We do have a couple of attacking midfielders, and we don't want to be playing Shay Charles as a deep line playmaker in the Championship, though. Charlie Gray is actually our best defensive midfielder at the club, and he's on loan for the season at Swindon, already agreed. So there might be there's potentially an argument to bring him back. Did we extend his loan for a year? I don't even remember signing that off. That must have had my loan manager. We got a loan manager? Someone's done that for me. Central midfield, very happy with Fiorini and Hamilton, if we can keep Hamilton. And I think Thorndyke is an adequate backup there, as is Nico O'Reilly. We could do with more of a natural box-to-box midfielder in there. I wouldn't be offended if one of them presented themselves. Why am I pressing all the wrong buttons? But on the whole, pretty happy with what we've got in there. Wilson Esbrand's our best left winger. Hamilton is a central midfielder. So Ben Knight, and I mean, really the entire front 3 we could do with replacing. And it gives us a unique opportunity to decide what we want our front 3 to look like. Are we going to go to a diamond with 2 up top? Are we going to go to like a 4-4-2 with just a normal front 2 and maybe some more traditional wide midfield players rather than wingers? A lot's going to be dictated by what we can find and what will be within our budget. But looking at this straight away, we need a right back. We need at least one midfielder, whether it's another central midfielder, a defensive midfielder to come straight in, or an attacking midfielder. And we need an entire front 3. So just in our starting 11, that's 5 signings that are needed, plus a little bit of depth is needed as well. We've got about £100,000 a week of wage budget to play with. And it's free transfer day. So have we got anything in the dev centre? These guys are still here. None of them. All right, we're not able to renew any of those loans, which is frustrating. We do have another backup goalkeeper, so he could potentially come up into the first team squad. So there's some decent players in there that might come and join in. But on the whole, we've got work to do. I'm going to go away and find us some players to start filling up this squad. 5 signings, 5 first team quality signings is what we're looking for here. And then a couple of loans in on top. Easy peasy. Probably also worth noting as well, for anyone who thinks we're still a big club at this level, the media have got us as one of the favourites from relegation. We don't have anybody anywhere near the media dream 11. Our best player, you have to scroll all the way down, and it's Jimmy J. Morgan, who's not going to be here. So Fiorini is right down there. We can't scroll any further, as our best player is one of the worst best players in the league. This is going to be a tough season ahead. Well, this makes me sad. Liam Delap doesn't want to come home. We have managed to make a couple of signings. Kane Taylor has agreed to another year. So Kane Taylor is in on loan from Brentford. I thought we were starting a beautiful relationship with Brentford, but the Liam Delap situation has upset me now. Nathan Ferguson is our first permanent signing of the summer. We have our right back solution solved. He's on a free transfer from Crystal Palace, where he's been a bit part player for many, many years, but certainly should be good enough to be our starting right back throughout our time in the Championship, however long we're here for. And Peterborough legend, I mean, he's not in real life, not so much, but in Football Manager, certainly Ricky J. Jones is a superstar, lightning quick. I don't intend to play him up front. He's come in to play on that left-hand side where he can just give us an injection of lightning pace down the left wing. And I had hoped the combination of him and Ricky and Liam Delap up front would be a thing of beauty. We've missed out on Hayden Roberts, who we were trying to bring in. Back to the drawing board, and we've only got £40,000 of spare wage budget left to spend now. There are other players we're trying to bring in as well, a backup goalkeeper, and also Anthony Musaba to be our right-sided attacker. And we just need a centre forward. Can we get Morgan again? He's now gone back to Chelsea. He's since been top scorer for England under-20s at the Under-20 World Cup. He is available for loan again. Wants to be tested. Shut up, Siri. Wants to be tested in a different environment. What about Coburn? Coburn, very much my backup option. It doesn't look like he's on the loan list anymore. Can any of you lot play up front? Well, we have officially spent some money for the first time. Tyrese Forner becomes the first player in the save that we've spent actual money on, and look how pleased he is about it. He knows he's special. I found it very difficult to find a defensive midfield player or someone who fit that box-to-box midfield player role. This guy does both. He's 6'3", very physical, just in there to kick people in midfield. And that's exactly what we needed. Previously, he's been at Millwall, so he's played in the Championship before for both Millwall and Reading, was at Forest, was at Brighton. He's got plenty of experience. He's 25 years old, so he's a little bit older than our typical signing as well. But I just needed a big physical presence in central midfield. We've spent £250,000 on getting one, and I think that's probably fair and could be the difference between us surviving or not. Also in midfield, we've brought in John Joe Shelvey on a free transfer, mainly because he was mega cheap. He only wanted £5,000 a week. He's another option to play as that deep lying playmaker role, or the only option we've really got to play as the deep lying playmaker. Forner will be more of a tackler in there, but if we decide to go with the playmaker we've used previously, just sitting back and passing the ball around, then John Joe Shelvey passes like a Premier League player. He's still only 30 years old. Lots and lots of Premier League experience, and for £5,000 a week, he's 33, not 30, but for £5,000 a week for someone with all this Premier League experience, that seemed like a no-brainer. So Shelvey is in it as well. We've also got our backup goalkeeper that I threatened to bring in, Magnus Norman, 28 years old, previously played the last 3 years for Oldham in the National League. He's just in to sit on our bench so we can loan out our other young goalkeeper. Anthony Musaba is also in. We were looking at him previously. He is going to be our right-sided attacking player. He's quite expensive, £20,000 a week, was previously of Monaco, and he's going to come in, can play on that right-hand side, can also play up front for us as well. And then lastly, a couple of young strikers, both a little bit of a risk, but if either of them end up as good as they could be, we are going to be laughing. Santo Lambert is an 18-year-old Belgian under-21 international who was... he's currently injured, but he did show as a wonder kid. He's now not showing as a wonder kid. I thought we were bringing in our first wonder kid, but he's now not showing as a wonder kid. But 3 stars of current ability, 5-star potential. He's one of several players who can play as a striker for us, similar to last year with Coburn and Morgan. We don't know if either of these are going to be any good, but we've got him. We've also got Samuel Ibrahim from Arsenal on loan for the season, who is nice and quick but can't finish. So between the two of them, hopefully one of them, I'm so glad that guy's cutting his grass now. Hopefully one of them will end up any good. Could you make any more noise? Goodness me. So with those signings in, this is what our squad depth looks like now. We've got a decent backup goalkeeper sat in there. Still don't have much of a backup to Wilson Esbrand. Flynn, I guess, is going to have to carry on doing that job. Likewise, on the right, we've got Ferguson, but not really anyone behind him. Centre-backs, I think we should be fine. Ferguson can play there. We're already pretty good for depth in that position already. Then you've got Shelvey and Forner, who can both play as the defensive midfielder, albeit in different roles. With Taylor coming back in to complement Fiorini and Hamilton, and then one of either Forner or Shelvey, whoever's not playing deep. We should be okay. And then we've still got the youngsters knocking around the place as well, ready to push through. And then the attack is where we've made the most difference, I think, between Lambert and Jones and Ibrahim and Musaba. We've brought in 4 players who can all pretty much play anywhere across the attack, and we'll all get the opportunity to. I just hope at least a couple of them end up looking good enough to play in this league. With all those transfers being done, we've still got £25,000 or £28,000 a week of wage budget available, so we'll still be looking at free transfers. I think we've maxed out the loans we can use now. Maybe we can have one more loan, but obviously we don't want to spend this money, although we have spent £250,000 of it like a little rascal. But we'll keep an eye out for anything that looks difference-making. But can I press the button? Goodness me. The media think we might just survive now based on those transfers, putting us from 22nd up to 21st place. It's still pretty tight, though, down at the bottom. And yeah, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. The positive is, with these new players coming in, I've pushed some of the youngsters back down to the under-21s, so the dev centre looks great again. Look at all that potential down there. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Right, we've still got about a month nearly before the season starts, so there's still plenty that could happen. We could still sell half the team. Let's see. You'll know by how long's left in the video whether shenanigans happen from here. Well, we found a game changer, Erwin Betrancourt, which I think is one of the name in the game, not from our channel member name in the game thing, but one of the ones that Sports Interactive do, because a player with this name seems to come up every single year. We've certainly signed Erwin Betrancourt before, but he is a striker, can also play right wing, who is nice and quick. 4-star current ability already at 18 years old, 5 stars of potential. He is on loan for the rest of the season from Marseille. That is 4 attackers all on loan. We've certainly not solved the long-term problem of having no attackers, but this season we've got plenty, and he comes straight in as the best player at the club, star rating wise, better than Fiorini. Because he's come in, we figured we probably don't need Wright Phillips anymore. So he has, why can't I see? He's definitely gone. I definitely sold him. Why can't I find? There he is. Wright Phillips went to Lincoln, £275,000. He was out of contract at the end of the season. We weren't going to renew it. He was probably not going to play because there were so many players ahead of him on the right-hand side. Masaba, who, of course, we've just brought in. Ibrahim, Lambert, Betrancourt can all play out there. So Ricky J. Jones can play out there. He was done, effectively, so he moves on for $275,000. Nice little profit that we've made on him, and that is the current team as per what my assistant manager thinks we should do. Is Betrancourt not fit? Because otherwise I'd be inclined to start him ahead of Dixon. Needs match practice. We've got a day. Can we arrange a match for him to play in a day? We couldn't, is the answer to that question. There was no way to. So this is the team that I think we're going to be putting out there for the game against Swansea, which will be coming up in tomorrow's video. Certainly areas of familiarity that with some upgrades in areas where we needed them. So Ferguson will, of course, play at right back. Shelvey and Fauna will both come into the midfield. And Ricky J. Jones and Masaba both get starts. Dixon's going to play up front for now, but I suspect Ibrahim, Betrancourt, when they're match fit, will both be ready to step in. We've, of course, got Lambert as well. So 3 young strikers all ready to step into that team and potentially displace the entire front 3 that we've got there. Who knows? But that will be a job for tomorrow. We do still have money to spend in the wage budget, so we've got 3 weeks of transfer window left. We will definitely be looking to continue adding to this squad for the right player, and the media still think we're very much going to be in a relegation battle, which is lovely to see. I'll show them. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.